So there's been some discussion in the comments in one of the response videos I made to another response by Lord Immolation, I think, about Dennett and Dawkins and their use of the term information. And I asked, I forget who it was, to define information, and he gave me the definition from um, information theory, or it comes out of physics ultimately. And the implication is that information exists independently of any subject or any subjectivity or any need for interpretation, whether it's human interpretation or other forms of um, of organic um, interpretation, other organisms. And I understand it's a technical term that's used in a certain way in a certain field, but um, why use this term if not to imply something more? They could have used a different term and not run into this problem. Gregory Bateson, a psychologist, famously defined information as a difference that makes a difference. Um, Information is a difference that makes a difference. Now, implied in that definition is that it must make a difference to someone, to a subject, to someone who is doing the interpreting of what difference makes a difference. And this is Bateson's attempt to define information in terms of the living organisms that bring it forth. Um, and the issue for me is that this word information, at bottom, it means for me communication. Information is what is communicated between subjects. There's doesn't seem to be a way around this requirement for interpretation of information, for there to be information at all. Because, what's the difference between noise and information? Well, it depends what you're interested in, right? If you're at a cocktail party, and psychologists call this the cocktail party effect, and you hear your name among the mass of other, words being thrown about in the noisy room, you will immediately, turn your head towards the source of that sound of your name. Whereas there's all these other words going on that's noise to you. It's not information. It's not a difference that makes a difference to you. Um, I'll grant the physicists and the information theorists their use of this word and their definition of it in a technical way, but when we're talking about cognition, when we're talking about how organisms, including human beings, make sense of the world in terms of information, it requires that we acknowledge their subjectivity. My internal organization as an organism is what uh, defines what can count as information for me. Um, and even in information theory, to gather information about the world, we have to ask it questions, so to speak. Simple yes or no questions, and we get back a yes or a no based on the question, and we can translate that to a 1 or a 0 into bits, right? But without asking those questions, without defining some realm of relevance, um, there's no information. So, even within these specialized fields, information seems to require a subject, an interpreter to gather the information, someone to whom the information matters. Because if information is a difference that makes a difference, it must be making a difference to someone. Um, so to try to conceive of information in this disembodied sense that Dawkins and Dennett and information theorists try to, I think is just confusing. And if they want to do this type of work, and it's helpful for them to understand, quantum physics and whatnot in these terms. Pick another word that isn't so confusing. Because when I hear information theorists say that information is out there in the world independently of we human subjects, I think, okay, well, then there must be some kind of subjectivity in the world out there, because an atom exchanges information with another atom, well, they must be communicating. Otherwise, what are you talking about in terms of information? There's just a physical reaction, right? Which, as someone who thinks pan-experientialism has some legitimacy, I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to this idea that atoms are communicating with one another informationally, but that's not what the physicalist or the information theorist is meaning to imply. Um, though that's what I get out of what they're saying. Maybe they don't realize that's what it sounds like they're saying, at least, but I don't know. Maybe I've just confused the issue more, but I thought I'd just say what I wanted to say about it.